And the other thing that I would love for people to know is, don't be so convinced. Just don't be so convinced. However, there is a knowing within you. Allow that knowing to move you to the next path. However, grow and let go of the thing that you were so convinced of before. Mm-hmm. Because I think people get entrenched in, well, this was my belief, and now because I followed that, it still has to be my belief. And no, it's a step, and it's not steps upward. I think many of us, like myself, we get caught in, well, what's the next step up? Like somehow we're evolving higher, and we're looking down on those people that we think that they're still asleep. They're not asleep. They're just in their own process. Our steps can sometimes be steps back. Our steps can be sometimes steps to the side to get around a wall. We're not evolving upward. We're evolving together. Mm-hmm. And just because we're part of the heart muscle does not mean that the liver isn't just as important or the lungs are not just as important. And each cell, each human, each soul that has come back here has a purpose. And if that purpose really is just to show us about our own pain, they took on that contract for us. Thank them. Just thank them. You don't have to forgive them. People are so caught up in forgiveness, and you don't have to forgive them. Just thank them for showing you.
In your process, are you noticing that other people are also moving at an accelerated rate with their understanding or development?
I think the people that I've come into contact with recently are accelerating. And the reason I think they're accelerating is they're starting to get it, that you get a gift, now what are you going to do with it? That is the only question I ask now. Okay, I've been given this gift, like the gift of you coming into my life. Now what am I going to do with it? Mm-hmm. It's important. It's important to apply now what you're given. You receive something, now pass it on to someone else. I get to pass that on in my radio show. Mm-hmm. I get to pass on those gifts in my radio show. Should that work for me now? That's beautiful. It doesn't mean that it has to work 10 years from now. I don't look down the road 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. I look down the road as, you know, I'm praying that I'll be just as peaceful. But if I'm not, there really truly is a reason. And I know that it's still the cliche of there's a reason. Every single moment is the reason. This moment is the reason. And what are you going to do with it? So that accelerated rate is, I believe people are now starting to just apply things. They pick up a book, they read it, okay, now what am I going to do with this? Maybe it is just simply pass the book on to someone else. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it is healing people, like people coming into my office, and I'm able to do timeline on them and get obstacles out of the way so that they can move more peacefully on to the next part of their life. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. I'm happy to do those things, but I've also realized it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
It just has nothing to do with me anymore. And whatever I talk about, even on the radio, I don't really even know anymore. I just start talking, and whatever it is that I'm supposed to say just comes to me. I don't know. I just am grateful, and I hope that I don't piss somebody off.
I don't think that's possible, having met you.
I hope that I'm inspiring enough to let people understand that, okay, you're struggling, and I have a hard time now saying to people that you created this, because I think that did piss people off at first, because I was telling people, well, you created this. However, people were saying, oh, I brought my cancer on myself, or, well, I didn't ask for my mother to die. I didn't, you know, I'm not asking for my son to be a special needs. Well, I'm here to tell you, you kind of did, and it was before you got here.
And hearing you speak about that, it's like people label those incidents as bad, but when you talk about your own experience, you don't put it in that bad box. It's like it's an experience, and it's a catalyst for growth.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you describe the beginning stages of your life. Although people might call it traumatic or a negative experience, you seem to look at it in a positive way, and I think that's an amazing gift to be able to transform those events into something beautiful and a catalyst to where you're at today. So
it is beautiful, and I think about that little girl that I was, and how I used to think of myself as perhaps being brave, of being a survivor, and that's not what I would say now. I think my abuser was probably more brave than me, at least his soul was. And whatever life he has here, it is his life. It is whatever he was supposed to do. And it's about his soul's progress. It's not about mine. What am I going to do with this? What am I going to do? And that's the only thing that I ask now. And I'm thankful for those people that have given me those lessons. And everything in this life, I don't see negative energy. We started to talk about the whole Reiki process and how people will say, you need to sage your house for, this negative entity, or, I just feel negative energy from a certain person. Well, I don't really deem it as negative energy. I really deem it as, what process are they in? What energy are they holding on to that they need to move forward through? And without that, without moving through that particular process that they need to move through, their soul can't move on to the next phase. I don't think there is anything negative.